Hello and welcome to another episode of You Don't Know Jack, an HHN fan cast. I'm your host, Nick. This fan cast, which is not affiliated with Universal's Halloween Horror Nights in any way, aims to explore the history and speculation of everything to do with the greatest horror event of all time. We are one day away from Halloween Horror Nights 35, and I could not be more excited for the terrifyingly fun season that we have ahead of us. While the houses are always the stars of the show, especially with this fantastic lineup, zones are also an incredibly important part of what makes Halloween Horror Nights so special. This year, with one exception, it seems that we are in for a real treat in terms of scare zones. So let's talk about them. On this episode, since we just covered every house that will be featured, we will be going through every single scare zone that we will experience this year. In addition, we will also be covering the shows and hordes that will be featured at the event. But that's for later. Let's start things off and dive into the scare zones of Halloween Horror Nights 35. This likely goes without saying, but every scare zone we are about to discuss has been officially confirmed by Universal Orlando. Construction is basically finished in the streets, so some of our knowledge will be based on what we can find from said construction. But we will also be going over every detail that has been released by Universal regarding the zones and then later the shows and hordes. While we did go through the houses in order of ranking, I thought it would be fun to go back to our old format for zones and take a walk through the park, covering the zones in the order that we would see them while journeying through the fog. So let's go on this journey together and explore the scare zones of Halloween Horror Nights 35. Let's start off our journey at the front entrance, where we have assumedly just seen Jack and Oddfellow present us with their opening ceremonies and welcome guests into the 35th anniversary of Halloween Horror Nights. We will proceed to walk straight forward and into our first zone that covers all of Illumination Avenue, covering the Minion themed street with images of pure horror in this zone known as the Infernal Carnival of Nightmares. Here, Dr. Oddfellow and Jack the Clown invite us to step right up and see what horrors hide in every shadow at a sinister spectacle decades in the making. Let the nightmares begin. This zone has definitely taken a step forward in terms of spectacle from previous years. Yes, the street is lined with displays representing each of the IP houses of the season. They honestly look fantastic. Large displays that feel right at home for a carnival affair. But what really impresses me this year is the Halloween Horror Nights sign that has become a staple over the past few years. This time, it is dressed up to be the entrance of a carnival tent, combining the colors of Jack and Oddfellow and complete with a ticket booth out in front. This increase in scale is something that can be seen throughout every zone, but let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. We don't know what types of scares we can expect, but I would be shocked if Jack and Oddfellow did not make any appearance. The zone feels massive, especially when you take into account the fact that this is only the welcome zone meant to introduce us to the event. But now that we have been welcomed into this infernal carnival of nightmares, let's proceed straight ahead to the New York section of the park where we are about to enter Downtown Clowntown. Downtown Clowntown is a zone that I don't think anyone fully expected, and yet, here it is. The city that never sleeps has become a walking nightmare as it has been overrun by murderous clowns. While that part could have been predicted, the surprise comes in the form of featured clowns, as this zone will feature killer clowns from outer space, as well as Art the Clown from the Terrifier franchise. First things first, if you listened to the previous season of this podcast, you know that I really hate Art the Clown and am honestly disgusted to see him return to the event this year. I was so excited to never have to talk about the Terrifier franchise again, and yet, here we are. I won't get into all of it here, but the portrayal of violence against women as well as the sexual harassment allegations against its creator make me very uncomfortable with championing this disgusting franchise. The good news is, his part seems to be pretty minimal. There was a small set piece revealed that seems to suggest it will house Art, and it is very out of the way. The less I see of that clown, the better. However, on the flip side of this, the return of killer clowns from outer space could not be more welcome. The zone was phenomenal when it appeared in 2018, and the house that was featured the following year was highly praised. It's wild how this campy, cheesy 80s B movie has captured the attention of the HHN creatives time and time again. Now they are back in what is sure to be an unforgettable zone. That being said, I don't believe that they will even be the biggest draw of the zone. First of all, this zone is bigger than ever before as it stretches past its usual boundary and runs parallel to the Jimmy Fallon building. But upon entering the zone, as we round the corner and enter the main New York street, we are welcomed by a massive stage with two tents, a throne, and a Jack statue rising above it all. Needless to say, I think it's fair to expect we will be seeing Jack on this stage as he rules over downtown Clowntown. The most recent views of the street also seem to show the black and white tent seemingly hiding what appears to be Jack's splendor from his Carnival of Carnage days. Nothing would make me happier than seeing some sort of continuation or evolution of that show in this zone. Even if it is simply Jack mocking guests as he uses his blender, you can catch me camped out in front of the stage with the rest of Jack's maniacs, enjoying the gruesome festivities. This zone will also be the location of this year's tribute store, as it is back in its usual location next to the Mummy roller coaster. There are so many amazing details in this zone, including nods to both Chance and Eddie. I fully expect to see both of them at the event this season and possibly even in this zone. The sets are massive, and the immersion of the street is already at an incredible level before we have even gotten to see it during the event filled with scare actors. I have a feeling this will be a fan favorite zone, and I cannot put into words how truly baffled I am with the scale of everything all throughout the street. I can't wait to see this zone come alive once the event is underway. But now, as we exit downtown Clowntown and begin to make the long loop around the lake, we actually encounter our first horde of the season, the returning Club Horror. Club Horror is back, and to be honest, I'm not sure who actually asked for this, but I'm not as big of a hater for it as I was last year. The decor is certainly improved from last year, and the new setup does make it feel a little more like a club with horror theming. The podiums are back, indicating that the dancers will be returning, the DJ stand, the bar, everything as you remember it, just with a fresh coat of paint and a slightly more fleshed out seating area. I understand this return because this is one of the most heavily trafficked areas of the park, and it doesn't leave a lot of room for a proper zone with the attendance numbers we've been seeing over the past few years. It serves the purpose of keeping something minimal here, but my biggest issue is that the music just always pulls me out of the theming of the event. I always felt uncomfortably close to the dancers, and since this is such a heavily trafficked area, if you actually want to stop and dance, there isn't really any room for you to do so without creating a major traffic jam. However, I'm not really sure how to solve this. Maybe return to it being a proper zone, but with minimal sets and characters on stages? A dance party is fine, but maybe if the DJ was tucked away more, or if there was no DJ at all and just the dancers moving to properly themed music. It's a tough situation, but I'm open to seeing if Club Horror gets any improvements this year. My hopes aren't high, but you never know. Maybe we will be surprised. Okay, enough of the dance party. Let's continue on past Nightmare Fuel. I promise we'll get to it. Through the Simpsons area, which might have the chainsaws again? Another horde in the form of the Chainsaw Drill Team? Possibly. We are all but certain that the Chainsaw Drill Team will be back again this year, but we don't really have any information about it. Universal has been radio silent, and I haven't heard anything in terms of leaks. We don't even know if they will be in the Simpsons area again this year, or if they could be roaming elsewhere. We will just have to wait and see. But this brings us into Central Park, and to what I believe is the one stinker of a zone for the year, Fortnite. What in the world are they thinking? Actually, I know what they are thinking. A lucrative cross promotion that will attract the much too young for this event audience into a bottleneck area. Great. Here we trudge through a Fortnitemares themed scare zone and brace for the storm as we drop into unknown horrors. Word has it that the zone will feature Fortnitemares characters unique to Halloween Horror Nights, which I'm sure will end up as purchasable skins in the game. In all fairness, the level of scale and detail does carry over to this one as well. There are some fairly large sets that do feel very video game-esque in their design, and they are using the space to the best of their ability. There was even a very recently revealed dead banana man hanging from the trees, as well as a battle bus taking up residence where the cat lady's house was last year. I will say there is still a chance this zone could be entertaining. If various IPs that have appeared in Fortnite are allowed to appear in the zone, it could be a very fun horror-themed experience. I'll be honest though, from the design choice so far and the characters appearing on the merch, I think the focus will solely be on original Fortnite characters. To me, this just feels like a shameless cash grab that is attracting an audience that probably shouldn't even be attending the event. It's built for tweens and teens alike, and it's right down the road from brutal horror experiences. This is more so something I would expect to see from Disney for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, considering the amount of money Disney has invested in Epic Games, the developers of Fortnite. All that being said, someone from the Scream Squad will have to brave the Fortnightmare zone so that we can all get our pizza fries from the DreamWorks location. I applaud the brave soul who makes the sacrifices and suffers through Fortnite dancing teenagers, all in the name of pizza fries. Now let's get out of this zone and continue on to something better as we approach our next horde outside of Mel's Die-In, the Mel's Die-In Zombies. Confirmed to return this year after their debut last year at HHN 34, the zombie car hops are back to serve up their favorite bystanders on a platter. While we don't know for sure if they will be back on roller skates, we can expect to see them roaming around the die-in and interacting with guests in between scare zones. I feel pretty indifferent about this one as I felt they simply didn't get the same amount of attention in terms of costume and makeup quality as the rest of the event, which made the whole offering feel kind of cheap and unnecessary. I will say, though, they did add to the atmosphere, and especially when the fog was heavy, seeing them emerge made for an eerie sight. I hope they get a little more love this year, and am not bothered at all by their return. But now that we have survived the zombie horde, it's time to experience the last scare zone we have to get through, Sideshow of Decay, featuring a long lost icon, Cindy. Finally, Cindy Kane, the daughter of the caretaker, is getting the attention she deserves with her own scare zone titled Sideshow of Decay. Cindy's time has come. With Dr. Oddfellow's dark sorcery, she opened a portal in the carnival's junkyard. She used it to resurrect decaying nightmares of the past that have come back to haunt us. Once again, we are met with a zone featuring extravagant and detailed sets that are larger than life, thrusting us into the horrors of the past. Even through the set decor alone, there is so much to take in. As we enter the Hollywood section of the park and into the Sideshow of Decay, we are met with stages representing different acts of the circus. It's in those details that this gets interesting, however, as there are lots of homages to icons of the past. At the end of the street, or the beginning, depending on how you look at it, is a giant clown themed statue that welcomes guests into the zone. It houses possible references to Jack, Eddie, and Chance, all of which I'm sure will be returning this year. Something that has solidified that feeling for me is the merch for this season. The latest t shirts and logos all feature Jack, Oddfellow, Cindy, Storyteller, Caretaker, Eddie, and Chance. I believe this to be confirmation that they will all be seen at the event. Furthermore, I believe they will all be appearing right here on various stages in Cindy's Sideshow of Decay. I think we all assumed there would be some sort of anniversary zone for the season, but I don't think anyone expected Cindy or all of these icons to make their return. This is another zone that I am so unbelievably excited for, and I can't wait to walk through the fog this weekend at Halloween Horror Nights 35. That covers everything there is to know about the scare zones and hordes for the season, but what about the shows? Well, there are two of them, one returning and one brand new. Let's start off the conversation with the Sex Fire Magic Show, Nightmare Fuel Blood Noir. Once again, much to my disappointment, Nightmare Fuel is back for the sixth year in a row. With all of the amazing potential of an anniversary show, a carnival of carnage, a return to Bill and Ted, or something completely new, Universal decided to go with more of the same. The Fuel Girls are back again to play with fire, but this time with a vampire twist. I want to believe this will give us a little bit better of a story, but my hopes are on the ground for this one. It's no secret that I can't stand Nightmare Fuel, and I really did hope that we would finally be getting something different this year. But I was proven wrong, and we will sadly be stuck with more of the same once again. The other show that we will experience this year is a new Lagoon show titled Stranger Things Return to Hawkins. This one sounds like a clip show essentially, bringing to life highlights from all 5 seasons of Stranger Things. While I'm not super excited for this show either, I will say the music has potential. With this series having an amazing soundtrack of 80s hits, it could be a fun show to walk by and just enjoy the music on your way to the next scare. I also feel like Stranger Things fans may be excited to relive the series through this water themed show and bid a final goodbye to Hawkins. But outside of that, my hopes still aren't very high. Again, I think my issue here is with potential. The Lagoon show that occurred during HHN 30 was fantastic, revisiting the icons of the past as well as bringing to life the IPs of the season. I think I was just hoping to have a Lagoon show that would truly adapt the legacy of Halloween Horror Nights to celebrate 35 years of fear, but I guess there will have to be enough of that from the zones and houses for the season. Regardless, nothing super exciting happening in terms of shows, but hopefully, Stranger Things fans and Nightmare Fuel fans will be happy. Overall, there is so much to look forward to this season at the event. 10 haunted houses, 4 scare zones, 2, maybe 3 hordes, and 2 shows. I personally believe this is set up to be one of the best years in recent memory. The houses offer a pretty stacked lineup, and the zones are no slouches either. I especially love how much zones have evolved this year, getting bigger and possibly better than ever before with such an extreme amount of care put into the detail and lore behind each one. Well, except for Fortnite, but we don't need to discuss that any further. Truly, the zones are seeming to offer an elevated and immersive horror experience that will likely even add to the lore of HHN. With Jack and Oddfellow as our ringmasters and the infernal Carnival of Nightmares ready to welcome guests, I am beyond excited to enter the fog and explore everything there is to offer at Halloween Horror Nights 35. Thank you for listening to this episode of You Don't Know Jack, an HHN Fancast. This podcast is not affiliated with Universal Orlando Resort or any parent companies. If you enjoyed the journey, feel free to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, remember that you don't know Jack, never go alone, and I'll see you tomorrow night in the fog.